Hello, in this video we're looking at issue 23 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine, our Canoptek Spyder model, and then learning its rules and the rules for denying psychic powers. Hello, I'm Will, this is Mike, we're the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we're bringing you issue 23 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. This issue came with a Necron Canoptek Spyder model, and as always if you want to see it on the battlefield you can skip ahead to the battle report using the timecode in the description, but if you want to see the issue contents we're going to go through those now. We have background on the Spyder here, more of our in-the-universe reports from an Imperial Inquisitor. You can see some of its features here, the augmentations and various adaptations it can have to do various tasks. It's also associated with Canoptek scarabs, it can create them. Then we have a battle record for our Canoptek Spyder, so you can give it a name and some enhancements and protocols, and keep a record of how many scarab swarms have been reanimated by it. We have background then on Canoptek constructs in general. I think we've seen a few of these before. They're just Necron automata, essentially, that aid their masters in various tasks. We've got a bit about Doomstalkers here, which are heavily armed constructs that guard their masters' armouries. Scarab swarms we know about. They scuttle about and repair things and destroy enemies. On the back we have the Canoptek Spyders. We've got Canoptek Wraiths, which can phase in and out of existence and use this to ambush their prey. Reanimators, which, as you might expect, aid the reanimation protocols of destroyed Necrons. And Plasmacytes, which we've already seen. Then we have a bit more background for the Adeptus Mechanicus, talking about how their understanding of technology is essentially their religion, and how they consider pursuit of knowledge and technological maintenance to be holy duties. And tinkering with a machine in an unsanctioned manner is considered great heresy. And there's a bit more about their armed forces here and their organisation. There's also a little bit about Space Marine Tech Marines who have been trained by the Adeptus Mechanicus to maintain Space Marine equipment, although they're part of their chapters and not the Adeptus Mechanicus. Then we're on to the build guide for the Canoptek Spyder. I think this is the largest model we've had to date, and it comes in quite a few parts, but the instructions are fairly good. They do explain how to do everything, and step by step, it's quite easy to follow. They do suggest that you build it in 2 sub-assemblies to make it easier to paint, because otherwise there'd be parts that would be difficult to reach with your brush. They suggest using the back part with the guns attached, and then the front part with all the legs. If you want to be very hardcore, you can actually leave the 2 halves of the rear section unglued for now, so you can paint all the tiny little scarabs inside. If you're not that bothered about that, then just glue it together like they show. It does have some extra parts depending on whether you want to give it all the various options, but it tells you to add all of them to the model here. It explains which parts constitute the fabricator array, and there's also a part for the Gloom Prism. It doesn't mention that specifically, but it's this part here. And it comes with a plastic flying stand, which makes it look like it's floating above the ground. I would suggest not gluing the flight stand onto the model until you've painted it, because you don't want to get any paint on the clear plastic, otherwise it will be really obvious. And then we have the painting instructions, undercoating all of it with 3 coats of Rune Lord brass, and then painting in Abaddon black for parts of its skeleton and the guns and stuff, and then adding Canoptek alloy to the brass areas, much as we've done with other Necrons. And then it's just lots of details, lead belcher for some of the underside of it and bits of the guns, and Corax white for the bits that will eventually be glowing energy sources and so forth. And there it is up to this point with the paint on it. So that's it for our issue contents. Now we'll be on to our game and learning its rules.
So, as you might expect, before we get into our game, we need to learn all about our new Canoptek Spyder. So we've got its data sheet here, and even though we only get 1 with the magazine, you can see that it actually comes in units of 1 to 3. And you've got a 6-inch move, only 4+ for weapon skill and ballistic skill, strength 6, toughness 6, 6 wounds, 5 attacks, leadership 10, 3+ save, so reasonably durable. And it comes with a particle beamer, which is an assault 6, 18-inch range, strength 5, AP0 damage 1 weapon, and its claws, which give it +2 strength, so it'll be strength 8 in melee, AP-3, 2 damage, so it's going to go straight through most of the Space Marine forces. You are told to build it with the Fabricator Claw Array and the Gloom Prism, which I think is technically optional, as is the Particle Beamer, but you might as well put them all on. The Fabricator Claw Array allows it to repair vehicles, which you don't have any yet, and the Gloom Prism allows you to deny 1 psychic powers if you were a Psyker. We'll learn about that in a little bit. It also has the Living Metal, reanimation protocols and command protocols, all the Necrons we've had so far we've seen, although it won't be able to use reanimation protocols because it's just a single model. It has a rule called Explodes, so if it is destroyed, before you remove it from the field, you roll a dice, on a 6 it explodes violently, and every unit within 3 inches suffers a mortal wound. And the other main rule it has is the Scarab Hive rule, which is in the command phase you can restore 1 destroyed model to each friendly Zarrakan Scarab swarm within 6 inches of the Canoptek Spyders, so they're reanimated. And then physically to go with the spider, we have the data sheet with the scarab swarms. There isn't really anything new here, just some abilities and keywords that are relevant. So you can see they have the Tsiphos and Canoptek scarab swarms keywords, which means that the spider's rule affects them. They're also leadership 10. I think that's the only new thing, although we do learn how they cost more power if there's more of them, and their unit size and stuff, but that's not going to be too relevant. So now we can learn what Deny the Witch means. Basically this allows you to try and counter a successful psychic test. So as an example, the Librarian has made a successful psychic test for the 7. So the Spider gets to make a Deny the Witch test, which is essentially done the same way as a psychic test. You roll 2d6, and if the result is greater than the result of the psychic test, then the psychic power is denied. So in this case the Spider rolled a 9, so the psychic power is denied and just doesn't activate. It's as if you failed to cast it. Also we see explodes. In the text here it says when an explosion happens, every model within 3 inches takes a mortal wound, but the example and the data sheet are correct, it's actually every unit. So you can see here a Necron Warrior dies, an Intercessor and the Lieutenant both take a wound. Also do note that the Necron Warrior doesn't get to reanimate because it hasn't been taken a wound as a result of an enemy unit shooting or fighting. And then here it just basically just restates the Scarab Hive rule again, but it's fairly simple. So now we can get into our game for this issue called Storm the Battery. So the Necrons are continuing their march across Tsiphos and have come up on Defense Battery Omicron-455 and are going to attempt to breach it and take it over because this covers a lot of the barracks and armories on Tsiphos, and so taking it will make their invasion much easier. Obviously the Imperium is going to try and stop them, so some Space Marines have been sent to do so. So we have the battlefield set up, once again like in the previous game on this map, the terrain doesn't matter. We have a 3-inch deployment zone along the long edges this time, so we have a Primaris Librarian and 3 Primaris Aggressors facing off against 10 Necron Warriors, the Canoptek Spyder and 3 Scarab Swarms. And then we do have a brief tutorial. Really the only thing here is just showing Deny the Witch being used in a game. There's a little bit of a short story there about the Canoptek Spyder, but there isn't really anything else to look at. Other than that, we just keep going until one side's been wiped out. So we'll set up the board and get into the game. So here we are outside Battery Omicron-455. I've got my 3 Aggressors and Librarians set up down here at the bottom of the board, and up at the top you can see the Necron Warriors and then the Spider and the Scarabs over on the right. And the Necron's going to go first, so we'll head into the Necron turn.
Well, there's nothing to do with my command phase at this point, so all my models have moved up. The Necron Warriors moved up so they can shoot. The Scarabs actually advanced and they spread out in front to firstly absorb the smite power when it comes, and also just to get in the way. And the Canoptek Spyder is behind them, but it is within 6 inches, so it can reanimate one if there are any left in the command phase next turn. But then we'll be on to the shooting phase, where I have to shoot the Aggressors with the Necron Warriors because the Librarian is protected by Lookout Sir. So all the Gauss Reapers are in range. We've got 10 shots hitting on 3s. That's 7. And wounding on 4s because Aggressors are toughness 5. 4 wounds.
4 5+ saves. Ooh, made none of them, so that's 1 dead Aggressor and 1 down a wound.
So we've got 5 shots from the Flayers because they're not within half range, hitting on 3s. 3 hits. Wounding on 5s because they're only strength 4. Oh, right, well, okay, 3 wounds.
3 4+ saves. Oh, I made 2, so only 1 more damage. So I'll just take away this guy on the end, and then the other normal Aggressor is down to 1 wound.
And then we'll shoot with the Canoptek Spyder, because he has an 18-inch range, and it will shoot the Aggressors. I could shoot the Librarian now, because he's not protected anymore, but I will go for the Aggressors. So it has 6 shots with its particle beamer, hitting on 4s, because it's only a Canoptek construct, so only 2 hits. But wounding on 3s, because this is strength 6. So 1 wound with no AP. Unfortunately, there are 2 mistakes here. The first is that it should in fact fire 12 shots because there are 2 particle beamers, and the second is that they are actually only strength 5. I was remembering the old rules for the particle beamer where it used to have 3 shots that were strength 6 and not 6 shots at strength 5. We realise about the number of shots in a minute, but unfortunately we continue to get the strength wrong for the rest of the video. This means that they might actually cause more wounds over the course of the video than they should have done, so it may have affected the result of the games, but unfortunately there's nothing we can do about that in hindsight. We'll just have to not get it wrong in the future.
1 3+ save. Oop, failed, so the other normal Aggressor dies. Well, we just checked the profile, and actually the Spider actually has 2 particle beamers, so it actually has 12 shots hitting on 4s. So we've done 6 so far. So the other 6 hitting on 4s, 3 more hits, and wounding on 3s. 2 wounds. 2 3+ saves. Failed 1, so the Aggressor Sergeant actually is on 2 wounds. So I'm left with just an Aggressor Sergeant on 2 wounds on the Librarian, and the Aggressor Sergeant would have to make a morale test, but he's leadership 8, and he's only lost 2 of his friends, so he can't possibly fail. So I won't bother rolling, and then we'll be on to the Space Marine turn. So in my turn, the 2 remaining Space Marines, not put off by the death of their comrades, are going to move forward to face the Necrons. Just moving up normally. And in the Psychic phase, the Librarian will try to manifest Smite. So he needs to roll a 5. He gets an 8, which is successful.
Now I can attempt to deny the Witch with the Canoptek Spyder, and that means I need to roll a 9 or higher to stop it. Which I did with a 12.
Well, and there's no perils of the warp when you deny, so the spider can't hurt itself. And then we're on to the shooting phase, where the Librarian will throw a crack grenade at the Scarabs, because there's an outside chance I'll kill one with a frag grenade, but it will just come back because of the spider. Here's a single shot hitting on a 3, that hits. Wounds on a 2, because strength 6 against toughness 3. It does. -1.
So that ignores their armour save, so straight to damage.
D3 damage for 2.
This Scarab base will take 2 wounds, go down to 2.
And then the Aggressor Sergeant firing his Flamestorm gauntlets at the Warriors. So 2d6 automatic hits for 4. Wounding on 4s. Getting 1. No AP.
So a 4+ save, which I've made.
In the charge phase, the Aggressor Sergeant's going to charge the Necron Warriors, and so is the Librarian as well. We're just going to ignore the Scarabs, so they will have to go around, but it's going to be a 7 either way. Do the Aggressor Sergeant first. He only gets a 6, so that's not enough to get him into charge range. And then the Librarian gets a 9, which is enough to get into range of the Warriors. So the Librarian gets to there, probably going to get clawed to death by the Spider next turn, but it will stop the Warriors shooting at least. 4 attacks from the Librarian, hitting on 3s. Well, they will hit. Wounding on 3s because he's strength 5 because of his sword. That's 3 wounds. That's 3 dead.
Yep, no save, -3 AP.
Yep.
I'll actually take them off this end over here before reanimation, because they might be able to reanimate closer to the Librarian, which they wouldn't, otherwise they wouldn't be able to get in range to just hit him. So reanimating on 5s, re-rolling 1s. I'll re-roll both of those 1s. Nope, no successes, so no Warriors come back.
And the Librarian's going to consolidate a little bit, just to make it a tiny bit harder to get Necron Warriors into range of him.
Then the Necron Warriors get to fight back, and they will pile in like this, bringing 6 out of the 7 into range. 6 attacks on the Librarian, hitting on 3s. 2 hits, wounding on 4s. 1 wound.
1 3+ save, which is successful, so no damage.
I won't consolidate them anywhere, because they're just going to fall back in my turn anyway.
Yeah, and no need to make a morale test, because they only lost 3, and the leadership 10. So we're back around to the Necron turn.
So in my command phase, the Scarab base regains a wound, goes back up to 3, but none of them are destroyed, so the Spider does not get to automatically reanimate anything. And the Warriors have fallen back in the movement phase. The Scarabs have moved over there to keep the Librarian busy, while the Canoptek Spyder is going to deal with the Aggressor Sergeant. And it does have the fly rule, if you hadn't figured that out from its base, so it did just fly over everybody to get to there. But in the shooting phase, it will shoot at the Librarian. It can do that because he's not near anyone to give him look out, sir. So 12 shots with 2 particle beamers this time, hitting on 4s. Only 4 hits. Wounding on 3s, strength 6, toughness 4, 3 wounds.
3 3+ saves. Failed 1, he's down to 4 wounds.
And in the charge phase, well, I declare both my charges now. The Scarabs will charge the Librarian and the Spider will charge the Aggressor Sergeant. So the Scarabs just don't need to roll anything. 3 is enough. And I'll roll the Spider now as well. Also needs anything but a 2. Yeah, 6. So the Scarabs are just going to go into the Librarian, and the Spider will attack the Aggressor Sergeant, but making sure I stay within 6 inches of at least 1 Scarab base that won't die, so I can reanimate it potentially. And then we'll fight with the Scarabs first, I suppose. It doesn't really matter. So 12 attacks between the lot of them, hitting on 4s, but 6s automatically cause wounds. So we've got 1 automatic wound, which I'll put aside, and 6 other hits. These wound on 5s though, because they are only strength 3. Nothing at all. So just 1 automatic wound.
So 1 3+ save, which I made.
Then the Canoptek Spyder has 5 attacks, which hit on 4s. So it only gets 1 hit. And wounds on a 3, because it's strength 8 versus toughness 5. Which it failed to do, so it doesn't kill the Aggressor Sergeant. And then I'll just consolidate into base contact with him, just so he can't move in his own pile-in step.
So it doesn't matter who I fight with first, so I'll do the Aggressor Sergeant. He has 4 attacks, also hitting on 4s, getting 2. Wounding on 3s, 2 wounds.
Only 6s to save, so no, 2 go through, so that's actually 4 damage.
It's down to 2 wounds. And then the Librarian's going to attack the Scarab Swarms. 4 attacks as well on the Scarabs, hitting on 3s, they all hit. Wounding on 3s, 3 wounds. So there's no save, so just do straight to damage. The first one, D3 damage, is 3, so that's enough to kill that base. Can't possibly kill another Scarab Swarm one attack, so I'll roll these both together. So that's 4 damage, that's enough to kill another one.
So the wounded one was taken away, and I'll take away that one as well with 4 damage, leaving that one. But then they do get to reanimate, because they do have reanimation protocols. think it's the first time we've seen reanimation protocols with multi-wound models, so I roll 1 dice for every wound of the destroyed models, and I need to roll enough 5s to bring back an entire model. That means 8 dice, and I need to roll at least 4 5s to bring back a base. Or 8 5s.
Well, there you go.
I nearly did roll 8 5s. That's 5 successes, so that's enough to bring back a whole base, and the extra one is discarded. So we do get a whole base back on 4 wounds, and it'll go there.
And yeah, I think that's it for the Necron turn. No morale test needed, so it's on to the Space Marine turn. Well, I'm going to take a risk and leave the Aggressor Sergeant and the Librarian both in combat, so straight to the Psychic phase, where the Librarian's going to try and manifest Smite. Needing a 5, getting an 8 again.
Try and deny it using the Gloom Prism, so I need a 9 or more. I got an 8, so it goes off.
Yeah. D3 damage to the Scarabs for 2.
So this base will take 2 wounds. I'll go down to 2.
The shooting phase, the Librarian's going to fire his pistol at the Scarabs. He's got 1 shot with his bolt pistol, hitting on a 3. He hits. And wounding on a 3, which does.
No AP though, so 6 to save. Nope, takes another wound.
Down to 1, and then on to the fight phase, where the Necrons get to pick first.
And I will pick the Spider first, because it might get smashed to bits if it doesn't kill the Aggressor Sergeant, and it's definitely worth more than Scarab Swarms. 5 attacks hitting on 4s. See if we can get more than 1 this time. We can get 2. 3s to wound. 2 wounds. Yeah. With minus 3 AP.
6s. Oh! Yes!
No.
Well, that was unlikely, so I'll do the Librarian, because I get to pick next since the Scarabs haven't been yet. 4 attacks hitting on 3s. They all hit. And wounding on 3s. Ooh. 2 wounds, so he's not going to kill them. So the wounded base will die, and the other one takes 1 wound.
Yeah, because D3 damage will take out the 1 wound base, and this one goes down to 3. But the damaged one might reanimate if I roll 4 5 pluses. No. Then the Scarab base gets to strike back. 4 attacks hitting on 4s, 6 is auto wound. We've got an auto wound and a normal hit. The hit wounds on a 5. It does not.
3 plus save for the wound, which is saved. Finally, the Aggressor Sergeant gets to go. 4 attacks hitting on 4s, getting 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, getting 1 wound.
Needs a 6 or it'll die. No, it didn't, so it does die.
But does it explode?
Yes, so on a 6 it might blow up. It does not blow up on a 4. If it did blow up, it wouldn't have killed the Aggressor Sergeant, it would have done 1 wound, but that is enough to destroy the Canoptek Spyder.
And then the Aggressor Sergeant gets to consolidate. So he consolidates closer to the Scarab Swarms. But that's it for my turn. On to the Necron turn.
In my command phase, the remaining Scarab base went back up to 4 wounds, and then it fell back across to where you can see it on the left, and the Necron Warriors have all moved back. I think we're going to shoot the Librarian and hope to deal with the Aggressor Sergeant some other manner. So therefore on to the shooting phase, where we're going to shoot everything at the Librarian. 6 shots with Gauss Reapers, hitting on 3s, 3 hits, and wounding on 3s with 2 wounds.
2 5 plus saves, made 1, so 1 wound so far.
And 8 shots with Gauss Flayers, hitting on 3s, 5. Wounding on 4s, so 2 wounds.
4 plus saves, made 1, failed 1, so he takes 2 damage. But more importantly, he's still alive.
And then we're on to the charge phase. I think I'm going to have to charge the Librarian, even though I moved away from him, which in hindsight wasn't such a good idea, because he needs to die. Otherwise, both of these characters can probably kill those Necron Warriors. Probably need about a 5, we'll see what we get. An 8 is enough.
Yeah, it's definitely enough.
So they finish their charge like that, and then in the fight phase, I will pick them, and then they get to pile in. So they pile in like that to surround the Librarian, and they're all within range to strike. So we have 7 attacks hitting on 3s. 6 hits, wounding on 4s. Only 2 wounds.
2 3 plus saves, do you need to make both? Failed both,
oh no.
Dies! Maybe it's not to be then, the Librarian is killed.
I'll consolidate a bit just to bring them into a bit more of a blob. It's harder for him to engage in the end, and that's the end of my turn.
And then we're on to the Space Marine turn. So, Sarge is going to move sort of in between the 2 Necron units, just in case he needs to charge the Scarabs later in the turn. Then he's going to fire his flamethrowers at the Warriors. 2d6 automatic hits for 9. Wounding on 4s, 4 wounds.
4 plus saves. Made 3 of them, so only 1 dies. I'll just roll its reanimation roll immediately, because it's not going to matter very much. It failed on 1, but I can re-roll that, because it's Warriors. Oh wait, it succeeded. So it essentially makes no difference, so it'll die and then come back exactly where it was.
And then Sarge is going to charge the Warriors. And, yeah, 5 is enough to get him in. It's going to go straight into the end. Well, he strikes first, 4 attacks hitting on 4s. He missed.
Then the Warriors get to pile in and strike back. They can all get in range to hit him. Another 7 attacks hitting on 3s. 6 hits again. Wounding on 5s though. He's a bit tough. Oh, 3 wounds.
3 plus saves. Made them all. Well, no morale test needed. Back around to the Necron turn.
Well, the Necrons will fall back from the aggressor sergeant, and the Scarabs are going to come up right behind him and declare a charge, because obviously no shooting from the Necron warriors. No, I don't really need reason to roll it. Yeah, that's enough. So the Scarab will engage the aggressor sergeant and then attack him in the fight phase. 4 attacks hitting on 4s, 6s auto wound. No auto wounds and 2 hits. Wounding on 5s. A wound.
3+ save. Made it. Sarge counterattacks. 4 attacks hitting on 4s. Getting a single hit, which is possibly the worst possible outcome. Wounds on a 2, and he does 2 damage. On to the Space Marine turn, where I'm going to stay in combat.
So we're straight to the fight phase where I get to pick first, so the Scarab will hit him again. 4 attacks. We've got 2 hits and an auto wound. The wounds hits do not wound on 5s, so just 1.
3+ save, failed. Sarge is down to 1 wound. Right, he gets to hit back. 4 attacks hitting on 4s. He's got 1 out of, that's 2 out of 12 so far, if you're keeping track. He wounds on a 2. He does, and destroys the carrots. So now Sarge gets to consolidate. I'm going to have to do some careful measuring to see if he can get within range. He is within 4 inches of that Necron on the end, so he's going to do that. Does let them counterattack, but more importantly, they don't get to shoot him.
And they can all get in to fight. They're all within an inch or within half an inch of someone who's within half an inch. So 7 attacks hitting on 3s. Only 3 hits, and wounding on 5s. 1 wound.
3+ save. Made it. That is the end of my turn. On to the Necron turn.
And I'm not going to fall back, because all that would achieve is allowing the aggressor sergeant to use his flamethrowers and then charge and fight first. So if I do this, he only gets to fight first in my turn.
So Sarge has 4 attacks hitting on 4s. Oh, he's figured out how to use his fists. That has 3 hits. Wounding on 3s. Oh, 2s, but yeah, it's 3 dead Necrons.
I'll just roll to reanimate. 5s rolling 1s. Nothing, but re-roll that one. Nope, 3 dead. So 3 Necrons are dead, and then the remaining 4 can hit back. 4 attacks hitting on 3s. 4 hits, wounding on 5s, 2 wounds. 2, 3+ saves, made both. So that was the Necron turn. On to the Space Marine's turn, where I'm going to stay in melee and the Necrons get to fight first. Another 4 attacks hitting on 3s. They all hit again, 4-3. Wounding on 5s, just the 1.
Come on, Sarge, 3+. Yes! 4 attacks hitting on 4s. 1 hit again, and he squishes a Necron.
Who does not get back up.
Oh.
So that one dies.
Then it's the Necron turn, where Sarge gets to go first again.
Yeah, I won't fall back.
4 attacks hitting on 4s. Missed.
3 attacks back, hitting on 3s. They all hit again, at least they can hit. Wounding on 5s. Oh, that's 2.
Oh, come on, Sarge. Oh, no. Oh, at last the aggressor sergeant dies. That's a victory for the Necrons. Bit of a Pyrrhic victory, though.
Only just.
So we'll do a best of 3. Hopefully the next game doesn't take that long, otherwise we'll be here forever. So we'll reset the board and start the second game. So you set up, Necron deployment's fairly similar. The Spyder and the Scarabs have swapped around, I think. Whereas I've deployed right up against the board edge, because if I do that, then I'm actually going to be outside of 12 inches from the Necron warriors or the Gauss Reapers if they just move up normally. Otherwise the Necrons get to go first, so straight into the Necron turn.
Well, because of that deployment change, I'm going to not move with my Necron warriors because I can't get them in range anyway, so there's no need to get close enough to let them charge me. And then the Scarabs have just formed a screen in front of them, and the Spyder has moved up to support the Scarabs. And then in the shooting phase, we'll just shoot our Gauss Flayers. We will go for the aggressors again, I think. So only 5 shots at this range, hitting on 3s. 2. Wounding on 5s. Or 1 wound.
1 4+ save. Made it.
And then the Canoptek Spyder was with its particle beamers. 12 shots hitting on 4s. 7. Wounding on 3s, the shooting of the aggressors again, by the way, I didn't actually say that. Ooh, 7 wounds.
Yeah. 7 3+ saves. Failed 2. So 1 aggressor is down to 1 wound. Well, that's going to be it for the Necron turn. On to the Space Marine turn. So my movement phase, the aggressors have advanced. I rolled a 4 off camera, so they're just going to move directly towards the Necrons, and the Librarian's going to move up normally, but still staying within 3 inches of them. Then the shooting phase, the aggressors are going to fire their flamethrowers at the warrior squad. So it's going to be 66 automatic hits on the warriors, 22 hits, wounding on 4s. So that's 15 wounds.
15 4+ saves. 6 failures. I'll take all the Gauss Flayers off the back and then one of the Reapers off the front, but then I'll get to reroll for reanimation. So 6 reanimations, 5 rerolling 1s, 3 1s, no 5s yet. Okay, 2 successes overall. The dead Reaper one and one of the Flayers will come back at the back of the unit like that.
Well, we've completely forgot to do the psychic phase. I'll just do that now.
It wouldn't have affected anything because it's going to hit the Scarabs if it goes off, so it's not going to matter what the warriors happen.
So rewinding time a little bit, the Librarian tries to manifest Smite. He is successful with a 7.
But we'll try and deny the witch. We're using the Gloom Prism, which I failed with a 6.
So that Scarab Swarm will take D3 wounds for 3.
So that Scarab will be down to 1 wound.
Yeah, and then the Librarian is going to fire his pistol at the warriors. He could kill off that Scarab Swarm, but he'll just get reanimated by the Spider next turn anyway. So, single pistol shot hitting on a 3. He hits, and wounding on a 4. He does.
4 plus save. Succeeded.
Yeah, but that's all it. No morale tests for the warriors, because they only lost 4, and each of a 10. So, we're on to the Necron turn.
In the command phase, the Scarab base regains a wound. I'd almost rather it had died, because then it would come back for free with the Spider, but never mind. And then the Scarab bases have moved up in front of the aggressors, really just to get in the way. The Necron warriors have moved to the back of the board, where they're as far away as possible, but still in range of the aggressors. And the Spider has moved into the middle, so it can support the Scarabs and bring any back that might die in whatever happens next. Then we'll be on to shooting, where the warriors will shoot at the aggressors. All the Gauss Reapers are still alive, so 10 shots hitting on 3s. Only 6. Wounding on 4s. 5 wounds.
5 plus saves. Well, we made 1.
I'll do the remaining flare as well. Hitting on 3s. 1 hit. Wounds on a 5. Does not.
Wounded aggressor dies. Then this guy takes 3 damage and dies, leaving the Sergeant alive.
And then the Canoptek Spyder will shoot at Sarge, see if I can make the Scarab's job a bit easier. 12 shots hitting on 4s. That's 8 hits. Wounding on 3s. 7 wounds.
7 3 plus saves. Fail 3, Sarge dies, leaving just the Librarian.
Might as well attempt a charge with the Canoptek Spyder. Don't know what it needs, but we'll see. 9 is probably good though.
Yeah.
So 9 inch charge is enough to get it all the way over there. Actually turned it to face him, but its orientation doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and I turn the Librarian so you can stare it right in its green little eyeball.
And then the Scarabs will attempt a charge as well. Their roll is an 8, which is enough. And they'll surround him like that. And I'll do the Scarabs first, I think. 12 attacks hitting on 4s, 6 will automatically wound. We've got 1 auto wound, and that's another 6 hits. Wounding on 5s, 1 more, so 2 wounds.
2 3 plus saves. Made them both. There's another double 6.
Then the Spider gets to go, 5 attacks hitting on 4s. Oh, alright, he'll all hit. Wounding on 2s because strength 8 with its claws, and he's only toughness 4. 5 wounds.
5 6 plus saves. Need to make 3 of these to live. Oh, I made 2. No, but that's enough to kill him. That will be another victory for the Necrons, a much more convincing victory this time. So they'll win the best of 3. We'll recap these games for you now. So that was the game for issue 23 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How did you think that went?
Well, the first game was a lot closer than it looked like it was going to be. It was
yeah, I think
very clear at close.
I think the second game was more representative of how I expected it, which was I suppose it went better because the aggressors didn't die in the first turn. I sort of expected to lose all the aggressors to shooting, and the Librarian on his own is not going to be able to fight that many Necron units. And I just don't think I have the damage output to get through all your many wounds. I got pretty lucky with the double 6 against the Spider and then beating it in melee.
Yes, and then continuing to make armour saves. Although, to be fair, the aggressor sergeant also couldn't really hit any warriors in melee for ages, so he might well have actually finished them off if he'd rolled an average number of hits.
Yeah, well, I think on the flip side is that if the Spider's dead and any of the aggressors are alive, there's a reasonable chance that they'll beat all the Necron warriors because the warriors have a hard time wounding them.
Well, and in the second game, just deploying about half an inch further back meant you weren't in range for most of my shooting, and you got all of your Flamestorm gauntlets to be able to shoot in, rather than losing 2 of your aggressors in the first shooting phase, which did mean you did some damage to the Necron warriors, but unfortunately even 3 models worth of Flamestorm gauntlets isn't really enough to take out an entire unit of Necron warriors, and as we know, you only need a few of them for some to come back. So
I imagine that this game is just a way of showing off Deny the Witch rather than trying to be a balanced game. Either that or the scenario designers vastly overestimate the Librarian, because Scarabs are basically made for screening Smite, because they have 4 wounds so they can't die, and if the Spider, say if I did manage to kill one with shooting as well, you just bring it back, and we want the Spider and the Scarabs to show off its Scarab reviving ability.
Yeah, and again, it was only in the first game the inability of the Spider to beat the aggressor sergeant in melee.
I think on paper the Spider looks quite deadly, but only hitting on 4s. If it fought all 3 aggressors, I think he would lose. And it has a 3+ save as well, and no invulnerable save, so although it does regenerate wounds. And it would probably do fine against assault intercessors as well, because they had a very hard time wounding it.
I suppose ultimately it's a support unit which you bring for its support abilities. It looks quite scary in a small game, but against concentrated firepower it probably wouldn't actually last very long.
And there are
6 wounds.
Yeah, against any serious firepower it's probably not going to last long.
It has a little bit of shooting, and 12 shots, but hitting on 4s, not always that reliable.
We might have been rolling as if it was strength 6, but it is only strength 5, so it's not too amazing. I don't think it would have changed the outcome that much. AP 0 is not really the big downside.
I don't think it's supposed to be a damage dealer, really.
Is it the only thing in the Necron book that has Deny the Witch? The Space Marines aren't an amazing Psyker army, but it is useful to have around.
The Scarab reanimation thing, it's handy if you have a lot of Scarabs, but it's actually quite slow. With a 6-inch move, it can't really keep up with Scarabs, which you quite often want to be zooming around the board, taking objectives or tying down firepower units or screening things. So it's useful if you can keep it with Scarabs, but it has to do a bit of work to keep up with them. We'll see as the collection goes on whether it's that useful, I guess. The magazine obviously tells you to give it all of the things that are normally options in the full datasheet. I think if I were to take this in like a standard game where I actually had to pay for those upgrades, I would bring it with a Gloom Prism if I was affecting to face Psykers, because as we said, the Necrons don't get any other way of denying the Witch. The Fabricator Array would be useful if it had several vehicles, and there are other things in the Necron army that let you repair vehicles, and coupled with living metal and stuff, it could be really annoying if your opponent to keep repairing your vehicles. I probably wouldn't actually put the guns on it. In a larger game, they would have relatively small impact, I think. It's just not good enough at shooting to really warrant it.
It's the sort of thing if you had a few points left over, you'd buy.
Yeah, I think I would bring it primarily for the Gloom Prism, actually, and not include it if I didn't expect to be facing Psykers.
You can have it in units of 3. I guess it'd be useful to have 3 and all give them Gloom Prisms. That would give you 3 Deny the Witches, I think. I think it's Repair and Scarab Revival rules only apply once, so having a unit of 3 doesn't make it. If you're going to take 3, probably take them as individual units rather than a single unit of 3. Yeah, it's a really cool model as well.
It's funny, I think it's actually my favourite Necron unit. I just like the aesthetic of the sort of creepy floating robot spider thing.
I like how in the inside there's loads of little tiny scarabs, like those spiders that carry their young on their back, although they're mostly covered up, so you can't actually see most of them, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and it's fairly posable as well. I suppose talking about Deny the Witch in general, it's just the way you defend against Psykers. Not a very complicated rule. Well, some armies don't have Psykers at all, so kind of pointless to have Deny the Witch. I think the Librarian is the only Psyker we get with the collection. With the Premium we get a Chaos Sorcerer and the Broodlord, I think, which are also Psykers, so it would be relevant then.
We won't see it with the collection because the Necrons don't have any Psykers of their own, but normally a Psyker like the Librarian can also deny the Witch, so Psykers can oppose one another. It's just not really going to be shown off with this.
Actually, that's why it says in the rules as if it were a Psyker. Generally, only Psykers get to deny the Witch. It's usually fairly rare for other units to be able to do it as well. But that's it, all we have to say for this issue and these games. So if you like this content, do leave a like and subscribe, and leave any comments yourself. And we've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.